This is an end of an era. My house is all packed up, it's sold, I'm closing tomorrow morning, and I'm going to be living in the basement of my daughter. So all the storage totes that I kept my freeze-dried food was against this wall, and all that food are in one of 3 storage units. Now, I'm not quite living in the desert. It's one step up from a desert, which is actually called a steppe. The temperatures during the day can get into the 90s, and the storage unit can get as high as 80, 85 degrees. So what's going to go on with my food in a hot storage unit? Well, that's what this video is for. We're going to calculate to see what will happen to my food kept in hot storage. All my food storage is in here. So buried in this debris of boxes and shelves are about 80 totes of my food storage, and each tote has about 24 packages of freeze-dried food, all in Mylar bags. So the question is, how will my freeze-dried storage do when it's in the storage unit? Now, the storage unit is not air-conditioned nor is it heated, but it is insulated on the ceiling, and I have other storage units on both sides to help with that. We're going to figure out how heat will affect my food storage for the time that I'm going to have this for probably anywhere from 4 months to 6 months while I build my house. We are approaching fall, which the temperatures will be a little bit cooler. We're going to calculate the heat damage upon my freeze-dried food for that period of time. The question is, what's going to happen to my food that's in a storage shed? I spent a lot of money and time building up my freeze-dried inventory. Well, we can find out what's going to happen to it thanks to this guy right here. And I hope I don't butcher his name, but it's Svante Arrhenius. He lived from 1859 to 1927. He was a Swedish scientist and came up with a formula on how heat affects elements. The Arrhenius equation basically describes how chemical reactions will increase with the temperature, and this includes foods and other substances. So basically, as the temperature goes up, deterioration happens faster. But on the flip side, as the temperature goes down, shelf life of food will increase dramatically. This is the equation. I'm not into math, but this is it. If you want more information about how to do this, I'm going to explain an easy way to make calculations on your own later in this video. For every 18 degrees increase in temperature, the chemical reaction rate basically doubles. So the hotter your food is, the faster it's going to decompose. For example, let's take a look at freeze-dried storage life. Let's say you have a freeze-dried meal that will last 30 years at 60 degrees. Well, using the equation, if it's stored at 78 degrees, which is 18 degrees warmer than our 60 degrees basement, for example, instead of having a food that will last 30 years, it's only going to last 15 years. But if you store your food in a colder environment, say at 42 degrees, which is 18 degrees cooler than our 60 degree basement, shelf life will double. So instead of lasting 30 years, it will last 60 years. Well, the question is, why does freeze-dried food respond to heat so much? Well, freeze-drying removes about 98-99% of water. So the microbial growth will stop. Issues here is a chemical reaction will still happen and depends heavily on temperature. So if you have fats will oxidize faster the warmer they are. So what are the implications for home storage? Well, temperature swings are more harmful than good. You want to put your food in an area where the temperature is constant. You don't want to put it in a room where in the morning it's cool, then on the afternoon it heats up, where it goes cool to hot, cool to hot. That is very bad for freeze-dried storage. And even your oxygen absorber
how effective they are is also dependent on temperature. You want to keep your oxygen absorbers in a cool place, not in a warm place, if you want to keep your oxygen absorbers working properly. And as I said, fatty foods are going to be very sensitive to temperature changes. Now, fat is flavor, and fat does not like to freeze dry too well. But if you have temperature swings, or if you keep your foods, your freeze-dried food that have a lot of fat in a warm place, that fat is going to oxidize and it's going to spoil your food. So here's my example. Now, if I keep my food in a storage shed for 7 months with a temperature of about 80 degrees, what's going to happen to my food? Well, I can tell you right now. I'm 3 months into building my home and I haven't even broke ground yet. Our drawings are still at the engineer, and so instead of 7 months, I have a feeling that I'm going to be building my house for 10 to 11 months. And so my freeze-dried food is going to be in a 80-degree storage shed for a good long time. And so how's this going to affect my shelf life of my food? Well, I'm going to lose 8 months. So if my freeze-dried inventory have been kept in a good place, let's say at a 60-degree basement, and it's going to last for 30 years, well, because I expose my food to heat, instead of lasting 30 years, it's going to be about 29 years and 4 months. That's going to be the impact upon my investment. So, how can you tell? How can you crunch the numbers of using this formula if you're not a math whiz? Well, the simple thing about it is go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, crunch the formula for the Arrhenius formula, and tell ChatGPT how long you've had your food storage, what temperature it is, and it will tell you what the shelf expectancy will be for your food. So if you can store your food closer to freezing, you can keep your food the longer it's going to be. So I actually have this chart. We have temperature on the top, we have shelf life down on the bottom. If you could keep your freeze-dried food storage at 32 degrees, which is freezing, in theory, your food storage should last almost 200 years. And if you go all the way down here, you keep your food storage in a hot area where it's 100 degrees or better, you're looking at maybe 3 years of shelf life. So that's why we want to find a nice, cool place for our freeze-dried food. If you come down here to around 52, 57, 62, what might be the temperature of a basement, your food storage could last between 26 and 38 years. This is how Harvest Right and many other freeze-drying manufacturers have been able to estimate the life of their food by this Arrhenius equation. They haven't been in business for 30 years, but by using this equation, you can determine the shelf life of your freeze-dried food. I'd like to thank you for your time. Please subscribe, and I'll do my best to try to get another video out to you. And as always, go forth and freeze-dry the world. And I'll see you soon.